Just like the Zurich Classic, we're pairing up our two all-stars, DraftKings contributors Geoff Ulrich and RotoWire's Len Hochberg. Fellas, PGA Tour Zurich Classic, time to break it down. Coming at us from New Orleans, TPC Louisiana. So Len, different format with the team event here, right? So what's your strategy here?
Yeah, it's a completely different strategy, Jesse. Good morning to everybody. This is the hardest week all year to get 6 for 6. Only 33 guys, 33 teams, however you want to look at it. You can only pick one or the other. So it's really 33 guys, and you've got to get 6 through. It's going to be hard. Don't feel terrible if you can't. That's the first recommendation for everybody out there. This is all about chemistry. We've seen teams that combine two guys who aren't necessarily good golfers or aren't necessarily playing well, and they team up together and they just have a blast out there and they play well together. So I look for that. I think there's a lot to look at past history here. Teams that have played well before, they are something that we will look at. I will look at. And also, if, that you're going to have to go low, at least on 2 of the days, on the first and third day when they play the better ball. If you can get a team that has at least one good iron player and one good putter, I think that's another good way to go.
All right, Geoff, I know you answered this yesterday, but anything to add here?
No, I mean, a lot of the same things, just course history, I think is going to factor in a lot. And just, you need short-term chemistry. And it's typically been these teams with like one sort of younger player and maybe not even a younger player, but there's some kind of veteran involved often in times in all these teams. We saw it with Billy Horschel, Scott Piercy, John Rahm, going with Ryan Palmer, who's like somehow always gets the top 5 player in the world here. But I think that a veteran chemistry kind of thing is probably going to happen again this year.
Okay, so let's talk about the teams here. Patrick Cantlay came in second last week, fallen in a playoff. He's with Xander Schauffele. They cost $10,400. Now, just behind Hovland and Morikawa at $10,700. So do you need to pay up for one of these teams, you think, Geoff?
I mean, I don't think you necessarily do have to pay up for one of them. I mean, I definitely, it's a roster construction. You can do it. As Len mentioned, I mean, it's going to be hard to get 6 of 6 through. And certainly you can go stars and scrubs because we see a lot of sort of random teams show up at this event every year as well with like top 10 finishes. I would prefer the Cantlay-Schauffele pairing for the simple fact of what we've been harping on: course experience, course history, and just general overall experience. Both Patrick Cantlay and Xander Schauffele have tons of team experience playing in the Ryder Cup. Cantlay's been, T11, T7 here the last 2 times he's played. These two guys combined for a nice finish last year. I believe it was T11. So there's just more going on here. They're just more used to this format. I think that in terms of explosiveness right now, Morikawa and Hovland, potentially, like, obviously 2 of the best players in the world, but we're not talking about a big difference between Cantlay and Schauffele either. And I think with the experience factor, I would lean with the slightly older duo.
All right, Len, what do you think? Do you need to pay up for one of these teams? And if you do, which one do you like?
Yeah, I think you can and maybe even should pay up for at least one of these teams. You're not, it's going to be hard to get 6 for 6 anyway. So don't think you have to really save a lot for that 6th guy, that 6th team. But if we're talking $10,000 teams, there are a couple of others I like better. Cam Smith and Mark Leishman, the defending champion. Cam Smith has won this tournament twice in 4 years, so he obviously does well in the format and likes the format. It's all a question for me is whether Cam Smith is ready to play. He really wasn't last week. After his crushing Masters loss, he wasn't ready at Harbor Town. That's understandable. I think being back with his good buddy, his good Aussie buddy, Mark Leishman, will, revitalize him for this week. And Billy Horschel and Sam Burns, there's the veteran presence that Geoff was just talking about with Sam Burns. They were together last year for the first time. They finished 4th. Billy Horschel has won this tournament as a solo and as a team partner with Scott Piercy a few years ago. If there's a horse for the course, it's Billy Horschel.
All right, Len, move us down the board. So if there's a team price under $8K that you like here that you might be targeting?
Absolutely. Yeah, I like Brandt Snedeker and Keith Mitchell. Again, veteran and younger guy. Not that Keith Mitchell is that young, but but they played together last year. They were fourth. They talked about having a great time together. Contrasting styles. Keith Mitchell, great off the tee, really pretty good everywhere this year, actually. And Brandt Snedeker, the short game, not what it once was, but still pretty darn good. So contrasting styles that work well in this format. And all the way down at $7,100, Tyler Duncan, who was great last week on another short track, and Adam Schenk, they were Boilermakers, Purdue Boilermakers together a number of years, about a decade ago. Duncan 2 years older, but these guys have known each other forever. This is the fourth time they played this tournament together. They've had some good results, 11th last year.
All right, Geoff, team price under 8K that you're targeting.
Yeah, and there's a lot of teams. Like, I mean, I really like that Schenk Duncan team call as well by Len, but there's a lot of teams like that. And this is why I don't think you necessarily need to pay up for the top. I think a balanced approach probably going to give you a better option this week. And I like Windham Clark and Cameron Tringali. Tringali is a guy who's played extremely well, not just in the team event. He was T5 here in 2018, 2019, but also when it was a singles event too. He was in contention a couple years. So Tringali coming off, like, seemed to get his game together last week on another PTI track. I like that. Windham Clark is the prototypical guy who could just get red hot at this event. He is a really, really good putter. He's big off the tee. And you pair him with a solid around the green player like Cameron Tringali. I really like this duo quite a bit. I love the fact Windham Clark's coming in with some confidence. 3 made cuts in a row now. He can be streaky, but again, if that putter lights up for him, I think you're going to have a really good chance of seeing those two go low. Especially, again, we got that nice pair, a younger guy and a guy with a lot of experience in Tringali. 7,800. I really like those two.
So you're talking about some balanced partners there, Geoff, but Harold Varner had a nice top 3 last week, but Bubba hasn't cracked the top 10 this season. They'll cost you $9K. Is there a pair that you might like one golfer, but then you're just like worried about his playing partner's recent play?
Yeah, and look, I really like that duo of HV3 and Bubba. And again, you have to worry about, like the course, the event history of Harold Varner, like never making the cut. But I'm not too worried about it. He's got a new partner. I think you just write that off. But there is a couple other, pairings with similar sort of, just like worries on one side. And I think the biggest one for me, the most intriguing one, is Robert McIntyre and Marty Laird. We've seen countrymen do very well at this event. The Aussies have won it. Obviously, last year we had an Australian duo and a South African duo going up in the playoff. Now we've got like a Scottish duo here. These guys obviously, share the same nationality. Something has clicked for these, nationality teams at this event. And I think that with the way Robert McIntyre is playing, which is very, very good, it's a very good young player. If you're not familiar with him, I suggest maybe go and watch some highlights. He's big off the tee. He can get really hot with the putter as well. And Marty Laird's coming off a made cut. So Laird is obviously the worry here. He can just miss every single 4-footer for the week. But if he does start to sink some putts, he hasn't been terrible tee to green. So for me, that's the most intriguing one, just because we love the upside of McIntyre, but you got to take Marty Laird with him. And that kind of makes it more of a boomer bust combo for me.
Len, what's your take on this?
Yeah, I actually like that Laird McIntyre team too. And don't dismiss Laird. Laird is really good tee to green. I mean, yeah, the 4-footers, as Geoff mentioned, that's going to be an issue. But that is another good contrasting style. A little bit pricey for me. I was a little surprised to see them that high. I guess that's Robert McIntyre building up that price. But as far as, if a guy is playing poorly coming in, it doesn't really matter to me this week. Yeah, I look at it. I think about it. But so much is different this week. Guys get re-energized playing with buddies, friends. If two teams are just not good guys and both playing poorly, but there's a lot there to have to go on for me to dismiss a team out of pocket. I think guys can just bounce back this week and have a great week.
All right, Len, finally, which team is taking home the trophy?
Yeah, it's hard. I'm looking really at a couple. Max Homa and Taylor Gooch, good buddies. They're going to have a blast out there. They played last year together for the first time. They were 17th, not great, but both are really good guys. And in terms of they really all around game, there's not one guy who needs to drive the ball, the other guy who's the putter. But I can't get away from Billy Horschel and Sam Burns. They played together last year for the first time and did great. They're both playing great this year. Billy Horschel plays good on this course. There's just so many boxes that check off for those two guys that I like Horschel and Burns to take it this year.
All right, Geoff, what do we think?
I love this Bubba Watson, Harold Varner, the third pairing. I mean, Bubba, this is a Bubba track. He's won here before. He's top 10 with 2 different partners in this event. And when Bubba likes courses on the PGA Tour, he just always shows up for them. He just gets in the right mentality. And Harold Varner, the third, really easygoing guy. These two were kind of in competition earlier in the season as well. I think, Bubba is the right partner for HV3 here, and I think he's going to get him on track. And Varner, again, was in contention last week. He is so close to that first PGA Tour win. I really think he's got a great shot of grabbing it this week in the team competition with Bubba.